Hey, Tim Alden here from Burns, Oregon. A while back I got an email from Stanley asking about a video on pear shading. So anyway, we thought we'd throw this quick little video together. We get your emails and we appreciate you greatly. We apologize if we don't reply to all of them. We get a lot of emails during the day, and so we try to get back to everybody the best that we can, but sometimes people fall through the cracks. So we apologize for that. Stanley, this video is for you. And so I've just laid out a couple of areas where you would have pear shading. So a lot of times I'll use a pear shader around a flower center. So I just cut out what would be, like a 4-petal flower, so we can pear shade around that. And then I've cut out your standard stickers. And so on these stickers, you want your pear shading to roll from the point right down the middle and then taper off. And one thing that I found for my students that helps is actually drawing a line on to follow. That way they get a nice arc to it, and then they roll down and they have a place to taper off and stop at. So we're just gonna draw these on. This is what I did when I was practicing back in the day. I would just draw them on, give myself a little guidance. And you can actually draw these on without your swivel knife cuts, just your pencil, just out in the open to practice getting that tool to move smoothly without having that chatter that a lot of people get when they first start out. So your easiest one to run is going to be a smooth thumbprint or pear shader. They're just a little more fat, but anyway, anything with texture, your horizontal or vertical lines, it's going to grab more. So if you're a beginner and you're already struggling with this, I would highly recommend using your smooth or lightly roughed thumbprint. We're going to go over this. So like my swivel knife work, you need to tip the leading edge to the outside of the curve all the time as you're rolling it around. Because if you have the point, the leading point on the line, you can see how that's going to cut the corner and you're going to end up with flat curves. They're not going to be real round. The next thing is, I don't really push down super hard. You'll see that I set my fingers up here and then I just rotate that tool around there. And so it's just this nice smooth motion. So you can practice without even your maul, just dragging that tool lightly around that curve and just almost like you're drawing with that back end of that thumbprint. And if you can get that smooth and get that muscle memory down, I'm not pressing down hard on this tool. I'm just drawing it along there and then I'm tapping as I go. And that's how I end up getting that smooth thumbprint. And if there's a little chattery, just start out back there and just go over it again real soft. Just pivoting around those fingers that are planted on the leather to keep things stable. When you're tapering off, you really can flatten this out. You don't want to dig in on the front. You just have it slightly tipped back. You're using a pretty good portion of that tool and you're just hitting real light. It'll taper off. Same thing on the outside curve. We're going to get that point over exaggerated way to the outside of that curve. Flatten it out a bit and taper off. Point to the outside of the curve. Roll around. And so you could cover a whole piece of leather just with little marks like that. Draw you a little curve to run down, but we'll go ahead and shade these here. You can see it's the same as When I drew them on there, I'm just drawing right down that line, and I'll just taper off real light. And you can draw these on even in your floral work. You can draw them on with a stylus or a pencil and come back and erase them. A lot of times for students when they're working on projects, I'll draw them in to their floral work, and once you shade over the top of them, you don't notice it at all. So now we'll roll around these little pieces here like a flower center, and so I just keep it tipped back, and I'm running that tool sideways. And it'll have a little chattery line because you're pushing against a pretty hard edge, where before you're dragging and the angle is a lot smoother. But then just come back over it real light and you can smooth it up. And just, you can, when you get to the outside of these petals, just rotate it and kick that point out to the side. That way it fans out. And when I do this, you'll notice that I'm just slightly going over these seeds on this flower center. You want that shading to come out from under the flower center. So that's why on this one I didn't hit it all the way home. I left some more material in there. That way I can creep up on them. Then I'll come back and I'll plant my flower center. Once you can get it pretty smooth with your smooth thumbprint, then I would say you can go ahead, do these same drills with your vertical line thumbprint or your horizontal line. It definitely adds a level of difficulty to it, but with a little bit of practice, you can get to where you can run these nice and smooth as well. There we are. Well, thanks for stopping by. Hope you like this video. Be sure to subscribe and like these videos, and check us out on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.